Late one humid July night, a guest at the Farnsworth house wakes to the sound of a creaking door down the hall. In the darkness, he hears a soft child's whisper and the patter of footsteps, yet he knows he's completely alone. His breath catches as the floorboards groan under an invisible weight. Suddenly, a loud gunshot cracks in the distance, as if the Battle of Gettysburg is raging all over again. Welcome to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, a town soaked in blood and restless spirits, and welcome to one of the most haunted places in America. This is the Haunted Inn of Gettysburg, a night of terror. The Farnsworth house stands on Baltimore Street in Gettysburg, its brick walls still scarred by over 100 bullet holes from the Civil War. Built circa 1810 and later expanded, this inn witnessed the Battle of Gettysburg in 1863 firsthand. During that brutal conflict, Confederate sharpshooters holed up in its attic, using the high vantage point to rain deadly fire on Union soldiers. Legend has it that one of those snipers accidentally fired the shot that killed Jenny Wade, the only civilian casualty of the battle. The very bricks of this house absorbed Gettysburg's carnage, and some say the souls of the fallen never left. Today, the Farnsworth house is a cozy bed and breakfast by day and a nightmare by night. It's earned a reputation as one of the most haunted inns in America, a focal point for Gettysburg ghosts and Civil War spirits. Guests and staff have reported unexplainable phenomena here for decades. We're talking about real ghost stories passed down from frightened visitors, stories of cold phantom hands, flickering lights, mysterious voices in empty rooms, and apparitions that vanish when approached. The inn has been featured on ghost tours and paranormal investigation shows, drawing ghost hunters to Gettysburg from around the country. Even professional paranormal investigators have explored its rooms, emerging with chilling evidence of the paranormal. In this video, we'll uncover the dark history of the Farnsworth House Inn and delve into the Farnsworth House in hauntings that have made it infamous. From its gruesome Civil War past to the playful ghost of a little boy, from documented historical facts to folklore and legends, prepare for a mix of history and horror. This is a serious and spooky journey, backed by eyewitness accounts and real paranormal investigations. The story of the Farnsworth House Inn begins long before it became a haven for ghost hunters. The original structure dates back to 1810, when a man named John McFarland built a humble wooden house here. In 1833, a brick addition was added, creating the two-story inn we see today. Little did McFarland know that his home would one day be caught in the crossfire of the Civil War's bloodiest battle. In July 1863, the Battle of Gettysburg engulfed the town. By that time, the house was owned by the Sweeney or Sweeney family. As Confederate and Union forces clashed, soldiers commandeered homes for shelter and high ground. The Farnsworth House, then known simply as the Sweeney House, became an impromptu Confederate garrison. Confederate sharpshooters took position in the attic garret, its windows offering a clear shot at Union troops advancing towards Cemetery Hill. Over 3 days of ferocious fighting, those snipers terrorized the battlefield from this very inn. It's said that one of these hidden riflemen aimed toward a distant house and unintentionally struck down 20-year-old Mary, Jenny Wade, as she baked bread, making her the battle's only civilian death. Whether or not that fatal shot truly came from the Farnsworth attic, it's a tale locals have believed for generations. The house itself did not emerge unscathed. Union soldiers eventually stormed the Farnsworth house on the battle's third day, flushing out the Confederate snipers in a violent clash. In the chaos, several of those soldiers were killed inside the house, that the south wall of the building was left riddled with at least 135 bullet holes, scars from the gunfire that can still be seen today. Blood darkened the floors. The air was thick with gunpowder and fear. Gettysburg streets ran red with over 50,000 casualties across both armies, a level of carnage that practically guarantees ghostly tales in its aftermath. After the battle subsided, the Farnsworth house was pressed into service as a makeshift hospital for wounded soldiers. Its parlors and rooms became scenes of agony and death as local midwives and nurses tried desperately to save lives. One of those caregivers was a midwife who attended to the injured and whose presence some believe never left the house. In those desperate days, many soldiers drew their last breaths under this roof. It's no wonder that the inn is now thought to host numerous Civil War spirits. As decades passed, the old house changed hands and names. In the late 1800s, it was owned by the Black family and later even operated under the quaint name, the Sleepy Hollow Inn. But it wasn't until 1972 when the Schultz family bought the property and renamed it the Farnsworth House Inn in honor of Union General Elon Farnsworth that its hauntings became famous. The Schultz family embraced the inn's ghostly reputation, even conducting historic tours and paranormal investigations. They claimed the inn was haunted by as many as 16 distinct spirits, each with its own name and personality. According to the Schultzes, among these resident ghosts are several fallen soldiers, a former midwife nurse, and even an 8-year-old boy. There's also a local tragedy woven into the inn's history that might explain that young boy's spirit. Folklore says that in the mid-19th century, a little boy named Jeremy was playing outside the house when he slipped into the street. In a heart-wrenching accident, a horse-drawn carriage ran him over, gravely injured. The boy was carried into the house and placed in the care of the resident midwife. Despite her efforts to save him, Jeremy succumbed to his injuries in what is now known as the Sarah Black Room. That this painful incident, though less famous than the battle, left a spiritual mark on the inn. It's said Jeremy's childish energy lingered, and he would soon become one of Farnsworth's most playful and well-known ghosts. With so much death, violence, and sorrow soaked into its walls, from Civil War soldiers to a tragically lost child, the stage was set for hauntings. Next, we'll explore the ghost stories and legends that have earned the Farnsworth House in its terrifying reputation. Prepare yourself as the line between history and horror begins to blur. Over the years, countless ghost sightings and strange encounters have been reported at the Farnsworth House Inn. The spirits said to reside here are as varied as their living pasts, from a playful child to mourning women to battle-weary soldiers. Let's step beyond the veil and meet a few of the most famous ghosts of the Farnsworth House. First is Jeremy, the inn's resident prankster from beyond the grave. Remember the little boy who died after the carriage accident? Guests and investigators believe Jeremy's spirit is still here, and he loves to play. Those who stay in Jeremy's room often leave out toys like stuffed animals or building blocks for him. In fact, one chilling account describes how a visitor arranged alphabet blocks to spell out H.I. Jeremy one night. By morning, the letters had mysteriously been rearranged to spell Jeremy H.I., as if the ghostly child had not only noticed the greeting but answered it. Another time, a family set plastic toy farm animals on the windowsill and asked Jeremy to play. The next day, they found the toy rooster had been turned around, facing the opposite direction, while other toys were disturbed. No one heard a thing during the night, but clearly someone, or something, had been playing while the living slept. Jeremy's ghost is often described as mischievous, but friendly. Guests have felt a small hand slip into theirs in the dark, only to find no child present. Others have heard a child's giggle echoing in an empty hallway. There are reports of a little shadowy figure darting around corners or a small black mass seen briefly on the floor, believed to be Jeremy, making an appearance. In one eerie incident, an overnight guest swore she heard a young boy softly calling for his mommy outside her room at 2 a.m. When she opened the door, the hall was empty, except for a fleeting blur at the top of the stairs and the sound of light footsteps running away. It seems Jeremy enjoys a bit of hide-and-seek with the living. If you ever stay at the Farnsworth House and something tugs on your shirt or moves your belongings, you might just have an invisible playmate in your room. Not all the spirits here are so playful. Some carry the sorrow of Gettysburg's past. A figure known simply as Mary is one such presence. Many believe Mary is the spirit of a nurse or midwife who tended the wounded in this house, perhaps the very woman who comforted dying Jeremy. Guests have awakened in the dead of night to find a misty female figure sitting at the foot of their bed, hands folded calmly in her lap. She doesn't speak, she just watches with a gentle, melancholic expression before fading away. Imagine the shock of opening your eyes in the darkness and seeing a strange woman in old-fashioned clothes perched on your bed. One couple described how the apparition of a woman in a gray dress appeared in their room and actually tucked the blankets around them as a mother would. By the time they gathered the courage to check the room, she was gone. This tucking ghost has been reported by others too, as if some maternal spirit still tries to care for guests at night. It's a chilling yet oddly comforting gesture, and many attribute it to the midwife who lived here, continuing her duties from beyond the grave. Then there are the soldier spirits, the restless Civil War soldiers who never truly left their posts. The Farnsworth house has a heavy military presence in its haunting lore. Visitors often hear the tramp of booted footsteps on the stairs or pacing the halls when no one is there. Doors open and close by themselves, as if unseen soldiers are still marching through. In the attic, that cramped garret where Confederate snipers hid, people have felt an oppressive atmosphere, as though someone is watching. Some have even spotted a dark, shadowy figure lurking in the attic window from the street below, a silhouette in Civil War uniform that vanishes upon a double take. Could it be the ghost of a Confederate sharpshooter, eternally keeping watch? Many think so. Guests and staff have repeatedly described encounters with a particular male spirit who might have been a high-ranking officer. In the dead of night, you might hear heavy boot steps followed by the unmistakable sound of deep breathing right behind you, but turn around and no one's there. Several people have reported the strong smell of cigar smoke suddenly filling the air, even in no-smoking areas. It's as if a stern Confederate captain is still patrolling the inn, stopping to enjoy a cigar, as he did 160 years ago. The scent comes and goes inexplicably, often accompanied by a feeling that you're not alone. One story tells of a guest lying in bed in the McFarlane room, named after the home's first owner, when she heard a man's low sigh and felt a burst of cigar odor right beside her, despite being totally alone and the room's windows shut. She later learned that others had the same experience in that room. It's enough to make even a skeptic's hair stand on end. Perhaps the most unsettling, ghostly experience of all is one that blends the past and present in a way that sends shivers down the spine. Late at night, when the inn is quiet, some guests have heard a faint twanging melody resonating through the walls, the distinctive sound of a Jew's harp playing a forlorn tune. This primitive mouth harp was a popular instrument among soldiers in the 1860s. Listeners say the ghostly music seems to drift from the empty attic, as if a bored young Confederate soldier is plucking at his harp to pass the long hours of sentry duty. The melody is slow, mournful, and completely inexplicable. Imagine lying in bed with the lights out, and from above you hear a soft boing boing, musical twang floating down, knowing the attic is locked and unoccupied. One visitor described it. It was faint at first, I thought I was dreaming. But then it grew clearer, a random, eerie twanging. I'll never forget that sound. By the time dawn breaks, the phantom music ceases. It's a paranormal lullaby from a bygone era, one that has left many guests with goosebumps. The ghostly encounters don't end there. There are reports of cold spots that roam the hallways, sudden pockets of frigid air that move as if an invisible figure just passed through you. Many have felt a light tap on the shoulder only to turn and find no one. Doors have been heard slamming on their own upstairs, and disembodied voices mumble prayers or orders that echo in the stillness. In a house this old, some creaking and noises are expected, but some sounds defy easy explanation. One frightened guest wrote that she and her partner cowered under the covers as loud thumps and dragging noises emanated from the attic above them all night, even though no living person was up there. She even felt an unseen hand brush against her leg, sending her into a panic. In the morning, she checked out early, utterly convinced the ghosts were not welcoming in that room. The Sarah Black Room, named after a previous owner, is often cited as the most haunted room in the inn. Guests who stay there have experienced almost every phenomenon on the list: shadow figures, cold spots, even being shaken awake. One gentleman recounted how, as he lay in the Sarah Black room, the heavy bed suddenly jolted as if someone had kicked it, yet he was completely alone. Others have captured photographs from the street below, later noticing a pale face peering out of the Sarah Black room window when no one was actually in that room at the time. The window's curtains sometimes seem to move on their own, as if someone on the inside is peeking out at the living passing by. Taken together, these ghost stories and local legends paint a portrait of a house teeming with spirits. By the inn's own count, there are over a dozen ghosts under its roof, from little Jeremy, who plays pranks, to the kindly nurse Mary, to vigilant soldiers forever on patrol. These aren't just tales told around a campfire. They're first-hand accounts from guests, staff, and paranormal enthusiasts who sincerely believe they encountered something supernatural. Of course, personal experiences are exactly that, personal. It's up to each of us to decide what to believe. But at the Farnsworth House Inn, the sheer volume of eerie reports over the years has cemented its status as a legendary haunt. Ghost hunters and curiosity seekers flock here hoping to glimpse a Gettysburg ghost in action. And many leave with stories of their own to tell. With so many reports of paranormal activity, it's no surprise that the Farnsworth House Inn has drawn the attention of professional ghost hunters and paranormal investigators. Over the years, numerous investigation teams, from local paranormal societies to famous TV shows, have visited this Gettysburg Inn to seek proof of its hauntings. Let's look at some of the most compelling findings from these paranormal investigations in Gettysburg's notorious inn. In January 2014, for instance, the Blue Ridge Paranormal Society, BRPS, conducted a 2-night investigation at the Farnsworth House. Armed with cameras, audio recorders, and EMF detectors, they scoured every creepy corner of the house. The results? Downright hair-raising. The team reported capturing disembodied voices on their recorders and hearing unexplained footsteps in empty hallways. In the basement, a series of photographs revealed glowing orbs drifting through the darkness. One orb even showed up hovering in the middle of Jeremy's room, as if the little boy's spirit was curious about the intruders. Investigators also witnessed a little black mass darting around a doorway at ground level, which they believed was the manifestation of Jeremy himself playing hide and seek. These encounters left the seasoned ghost hunters astonished. After reviewing their evidence, the BRPS concluded that the Farnsworth Inn indeed lives up to its haunted reputation. Another investigation recorded a startling incident in the attic. During an overnight public ghost hunt, the kind the inn sometimes hosts for guests, a small group found themselves in the pitch-black attic, asking any spirits present to give a sign. What happened next could have been ripped from a horror film. The attic door suddenly slammed open with tremendous force. The heavy wooden door had been firmly shut, but now it creaked on its hinges, wide open. Startled, the group mustered the courage to close the door again and resumed their session, only to have the door violently burst open a second time moments later. There was no draft, no one on the other side. It was as if an unseen entity was making a dramatic statement. This is my space. That night, they also documented unexplained cold spots drifting around the attic and heard a clear knock respond to one of their questions. One investigator said his heart nearly leapt out of his chest when that door flew open. Incidents like this are why many consider Farnsworth House a must-visit for ghost hunters in Gettysburg. Paranormal teams often come equipped with audio recorders to capture EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, ghostly voices imprinted on audio. At Farnsworth, some EVPs have been reported that defy explanation. One recording captured what sounds like a child humming a tune when no children were present, perhaps little Jeremy humming a nursery rhyme. Another investigator's recorder picked up a gruff male voice quietly saying, "Stand back," during a session in the garret, as if a long-dead soldier were warning someone away. These eerie voices are seldom heard aloud in the moment. They tend to show up on playback, sending chills down the spines of those who hear them after the fact. Likewise, motion-activated cameras have caught brief video clips of shadow figures. In one clip, a human-shaped shadow crosses the doorway of the dining room late at night, triggering the motion sensor, but the room was empty. Such evidence fuels the belief that multiple ghosts really roam the inn at all hours. Of course, not everyone is convinced. Skeptics who have studied the Farnsworth house hauntings offer more mundane explanations. They point out that the building is over 200 years old. It creaks and settles, especially at night as temperatures drop, which could account for some footsteps sounds. The thick brick walls can carry noises from outside or other rooms, making them seem to come from nowhere. And Gettysburg is a town that lives and breathes its history. Skeptics suggest that visitors might be so primed to experience Gettysburg ghosts that their minds play tricks on them in the dark. That apparition in the photo could be a trick of the light or a reflection. Those orbs might just be dust catching the flash. The power of suggestion is strong, especially on late-night ghost tours when every shadow feels like a spirit watching you. Yet even the skeptics have a hard time explaining everything. How does dust fling open a heavy attic door against gravity? How does a creaky floorboard rearrange children's toy blocks into intelligent messages? For many paranormal investigators, the Farnsworth house provides a controlled environment to test their equipment and nerves. And time and again, they come away with evidence and experiences that keep the debate between believers and skeptics very much alive. The Farnsworth house has even caught the attention of popular media. It's been featured by Travel Channel, which once named it a top haunted bed and breakfast where you can slumber with ghosts. Paranormal TV shows and YouTube series have filmed episodes here, attempting to communicate with the inn's spirits. From the widely known ghost hunters and ghost adventures to indie YouTube investigators, many have walked its halls with EMF meters lit and night vision cameras rolling. Some crews claim to encounter exactly what the legends describe: playful interactions with Jeremy, spine-tingling EVPs of voices and breathing, and even visual anomalies on camera. Others left with little to show, the ghosts perhaps shy that night. But almost everyone agrees, the Farnsworth house has an atmosphere that feels haunted. Even hardened investigators have confessed to feeling a sense of heaviness or being watched in certain rooms, and a few have admitted they wouldn't want to be left alone in the attic for long. Whether you believe the evidence or not, the Farnsworth house remains a cornerstone of paranormal investigation in Gettysburg. It's a place where history and the unexplained collide. Teams will no doubt continue to visit, armed with gadgets and hope, eager to capture that ultimate proof that the spirits of Gettysburg still linger. And as technology advances, who knows, maybe one day Jeremy or one of his ghostly companions will clearly say hello for the cameras. Until then, the stories and investigations continue, adding new chapters to the inn's haunted legacy every year. The Farnsworth house is more than just a historic hotel. It's a time capsule of Gettysburg's darkest days and a hotbed of haunted activity. Its walls saw the agony of the Civil War and the tragedy of untimely death, and if the legends are true, those events left an indelible spiritual imprint. From the Gettysburg ghosts of fallen soldiers who still whisper in the night, to the gentle specter of a caring nurse, to the playful phantom of young Jeremy tugging at sleeves, the inn hosts an ensemble cast of the unexplained. Skeptic or believer, one cannot deny the eerie allure of this place. The Farnsworth house stands as a living monument to the idea that past and present can overlap, that perhaps some stories are so powerful they refuse to end, even in death. So the question now is, would you dare to spend a night at the Farnsworth house inn? Would you sleep in the Sarah Black room, where covers get tugged and a ghost might join you at the bedside? Would you brave the attic with only a flashlight, listening for the faint notes of a Jew's harp or the footsteps of an invisible sniper? Many have tried, and plenty have fled before dawn with stories to tell. If you've ever stayed here or experienced something paranormal in Gettysburg, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your own ghost stories or what you think might be behind these hauntings. After all, these are real ghost stories to the people who live them, and maybe you'll be the next witness to the unknown. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most haunted places in America, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more haunted history content. We explore legendary locations, paranormal investigations, and bone-chilling folklore every week, from Civil War spirits to modern mysteries. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a video, especially if you love a good scare.